Good evening, I'm Nisha Pandey and you're watching Prime Times News. Let's start with the headlines. The International Relations Committee of the House of Representatives decides to summon Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba again within this week after he skipped the meeting that was called for today morning. International Day for the Elimination of Sexual Violence in Conflict observed today. Cholera and diarrhea on the rise recently due to contaminated water and unhealthy food and pollution. The number of cases increasing daily. Protest against the government's Agnipath witnessed across India today as well, demanding the rollback of the short-term recruitment plan. And election for the next four-year term of the All Nepal Football Association (ENFA) being held tomorrow. Now news in detail. The International Relations Committee of the House of Representatives has decided to draw the attention of the Prime Minister towards his absence in today's meeting. The International Relations Committee of the House of Representatives has decided to summon Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba again within this week after he skipped the meeting that was called for today morning. The Prime Minister had skipped today's meeting citing his busy schedule. One of Deuba's aides told that the committee had summoned the Prime Minister without checking his schedule, so he could not attend the meeting. The committee on Friday had decided to summon the Prime Minister to inform it about his visit to the United States and agendas to be discussed there. It also wanted to discuss the ongoing controversy surrounding the US government's state partnership program and Nepal's participation in it. According to Congress lawmakers, the Prime Minister decided not to attend the meeting also because his visit to the US is yet to be fixed and formally announced. Deuba is likely to fly to Washington in mid-July, but the government has yet to make an announcement. Committee Chair Pavitra Nirola Kharel said the House panel has taken exception to Deuba skipping the meeting. Prime Minister Deuba has been avoiding the House where a number of ruling and opposition lawmakers have been demanding his response on the ongoing controversy over the SPP and his visit to the US. Members of the committee representing the Nepali Congress, including Pushpa Bhushal, objected to Committee Chair Kharel's comments that Deuba undermined the committee. Chairman of the Maoist Center, Pushpa Kamal Dahal, Prachanda has claimed that an environment has been created for all former Maoists to come together. Speaking at a program in Kathmandu today, Prachanda claimed that all former Maoists should be ready to come together to protect the country's political transformation. Prachanda said that the current situation has been created by overcoming the divisive chain of unity, adding that former Maoists should come together. He said that some elements that do not like change are still trying to reverse the political change in the country. International Day for the Elimination of Sexual Violence in Conflict was observed today. The day is observed every year to mark the date of the unanimous adoption of the first UN Security Council resolution to recognize conflict-related sexual violence as a tactic of war and a threat to international peace and security. The aim of observing the day is to raise awareness about the need to put an end to conflict-related sexual violence and honor the survivors and victims of sexual violence across the globe. International Day for the Elimination of Sexual Violence in Conflict is observed every year on 19th of June to raise awareness about sexual violence in conflict and to plan ways to end these crimes throughout the world. On 19th of June 2015, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed the date as the International Day for the Elimination of Sexual Violence in Conflict. The day also honors survivors of sexual violence and pays tribute to people who have lost their lives. conflict-related sexual violence includes sexual slavery, forced prostitution, rape, forced pregnancy, forced abortion, forced marriage, and any other form of sexual violence of a similar gravity done against women, men, girls, or boys that is directly or indirectly linked to a conflict. It also includes a trafficking in persons if it is committed for the purpose of exploitation or sexual violence in conflict situations. According to the UN, women peaceholders and human rights defenders are often specifically targeted, including through harassment and sexual violence, to prevent them from raising their voice against such issues. With this, it's time for a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Cholera and diarrhea have been on the rise recently due to contaminated water and unhealthy food and pollution. Around 50 to 20 diarrhea patients come to Shukraraj Tropical and Infectious Disease Hospital in Teku daily for the treatment. This number is increasing daily. These patients return home after a few days of treatment. But with cholera found in Kathmandu Valley, fears are running high that it could turn into an epidemic. Doctors say that such serious problems can be caused especially by contaminated water, eating food being sold openly, among others. Due to the lack of management of garbage piled up in Kathmandu for a long time and the onset of monsoon, cholera and diarrhea patients have also appeared in the capital's hospitals. Problems such as defecation, vomiting, muscle cramps in the abdomen and legs, restlessness, among others, are seen on the patients, doctors say. If left unattended, such patients can go unconscious in a few hours' time and even lose their life. But government agencies have not made the necessary preparations to control this infectious disease. It has been revealed that a person living in Japan has sold 11 acres of land in Kirtipur of Kathmandu by making fake death registration certificate. The Central Investigation Bureau, CIB, of Nepal Police has arrested 5 persons on the charge of being involved in the incident. A gang has sold 11 acres of land in Maitrinagar of Kirtipur municipality to of Shanti Devi Lohani, who has been living in Japan since 1998 by making fake documents. It has been found that the land was sold by making fake death certificate of Shanti Devi and creating her fake husband. Police have arrested Mahabir Chand, Ganesh Bahadur Khanal, Baburam Karki, Prem Prasad Khanal and Mamata Shrestha on the charge of involvement in the incident. According to the CIB, the landowner Shanti Devi Lohani had found that her land had already been sold when she went to the Land Revenue Office on 19th of May. The victim then approached the police. It's time for another short break. Please stay tuned for more news. Welcome back. Moving on to international news. Protest against the government's Agnipath was witnessed across India today as well, with armed forces aspirants demanding the rollback of the short-term recruitment plan. The violence has spread to various parts of India, where protesters took to setting trains on fire and also resorted to stone pelting. The states that have witnessed violent protest include Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Telangana, Haryana, Uttarakhand and Karnataka. In a bid to provide supportive measures to the Agniveers after their 4-year service ends in the armed forces, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also approved a proposal to reserve 10% of the job vacancies in the Ministry of Defence for Agniveers meeting required criteria. The government had also increased the upper age limit for the recruitment of Agniveers from 21 years to 23 years for the recruitment cycle of 2022. Meanwhile, to control the law and order situation, the internet has been suspended in 12 districts of Bihar. 8 trains have been cancelled, while 6 trains have been rescheduled in the East Central Railway Zone. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh today met the 3 service chiefs amid increasing protest against the Agnipath military recruitment scheme in several parts of the country. It was Singh's second meeting with the chiefs of the Army, Navy and the Air Force for the second straight day on the issue. There was no official comment on the meeting. It is learned that the focus was on satisfying the protesters. As the protest intensified in various parts of the country, the Defence Minister had approved a proposal to reserve 10% of the jobs in various organizations under the Ministry for recruits under the Agnipath scheme if they met the required criteria. The Home Ministry also announced 10% reservations for Agniveers in Central Armed Police Forces and Assam Rifles following completion of their 4-year tenure under the new recruitment scheme. The Indian Air Force today came out with details of the new scheme. The Indian Navy and the Army are expected to issue similar details soon. President of Ukraine Zelensky has paid another visit to troops on the front lines of Ukraine's war against Russia, praising soldiers holding forward positions as brave and hard-working and vowing the country will prevail. The president's office did not say when he made his latest trip to see troops. Zelensky has remained mostly in Kyiv since Russia invaded the country on 24th of February. But in recent weeks, he has made unannounced visits to the northeastern city of Kharkiv, where there had earlier been heavy fighting, and to 2 eastern cities close to where battles are being fought. Zelensky's office said the president also visited the regional capital and inspected its destroyed administration building, where 37 people were killed in late March when a missile blasted through the building. President of the European Council has accused Russia of using food supplies as a stealth missile against developing countries. He also blamed the Kremlin for the looming global food crisis, prompting Moscow's UN ambassador to walk out of a Security Council meeting. Addressing the Russian ambassador directly at the council meeting, he said he saw millions of tons of grain and wheat stuck in containers and ships at the Ukrainian port a few weeks ago, which was because of Russian warships in the Black Sea and Moscow's attacks on transport infrastructure and grain storage facilities and its tanks, bombs and mines that are preventing Ukraine from planting and harvesting. The Russian invasion of Ukraine, now in its 4th month, is preventing grain from leaving the breadbasket of the world and making food more expensive across the globe. Russian forces' blockade of Ukrainian ports, destruction, and alleged theft of the country's grains and agricultural machinery and shells and mines, now spread across its fields, are threatening to worsen shortages, hunger, and political instability in developing countries. Together, Russia and Ukraine export nearly a third of the world's wheat and barley, more than 70% of its sunflower oil, and are suppliers of corn. The war made the already climbing world food prices skyrocket by preventing some 20 million tons of Ukrainian grain from reaching the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Asia. UN says that up to 181 million people in 41 countries could face a food crisis or even outright famine. Now, sports updates. Election for the next 4-year term of the All Nepal Football Association (ENFA) is being held tomorrow. ENFA will get a new 21-member working committee on the evening of the election to be held at Park Village in Budanilkanta. President of All Nepal Football Association, Karma Chiring Sherpa-led panel had announced candidacy for the upcoming election of the football governing body. The sitting president, who announced the candidacy displaying the group's night, will face a challenge from senior vice president Pankaj Bikram Nembang, who has also announced candidacy for the top position. Former president of the Friends Club, Rajiv Paudel, has also announced his candidacy for president. Sherpa and Nembang are believed to be the top contenders for the post. Nembang was one of the close aides of Sherpa when the current executive committee was elected in May 2018. But Nembang turned permanent opposition leader within a year after the Sherpa committee was elected. The Electoral General Assembly will pick a 21-member committee for a 4-year tenure, including a president and senior vice president each, 4 vice presidents, 13 members, and 2 female members. With this, we have come to the end of the news. Before wrapping up, here are the headlines once again. The International Relations Committee of the House of Representatives decides to summon Prime Minister Sheikh Bahadur Deuba again within this week after he skipped the meeting that was called for today morning. International Day for the Elimination of Sexual Violence in Conflict observed today. Cholera and diarrhea on the rise recently due to contaminated water and unhealthy food and pollution. The number of cases increasing daily. Protest against the government's Agnipath witnessed across India today as well, demanding the rollback of the short-term recruitment plan. And election for the next 4-year term of the All Nepal Football Association (NFA) being held tomorrow. That's it for tonight. Thank you for watching Prime Times News.